Okay. Hey, I'm Julie.
And I'm Pete.
And that's Dewey.
And that's Julie.
And we are Rush Less, a podcast about EMS professionals.
Yeah, we don't talk about clinical stuff at all. Just, fun stuff. What it's about to be. And just chatting.
Just chatting.
Mm-hmm.
Telling stories about EMS all over the country, all over the world.
Yes.
So tonight,
any views and opinions are that of ours and our guests only and do not reflect any of our current reform employers.
Tonight, who are we chatting with, Peter?
So tonight we're talking to Vince from Chicago's Bravest Stories. So if you like fun accent, if you like fun accents,
and you have a bracelet,
you should definitely check it out because Chicago's got a great accent.
Yeah, they said we have funny accents, but I don't hear it.
I don't hear it at all.
Nope.
But folks can actually check Vince out on his podcast, Chicago's Bravest.
Chicago's Bravest Stories.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Thanks so much. But yes, they have a great podcast.
They do.
They speak to firefighters because in Chicago it's fire and EMS pretty much are combined.
Mm-hmm.
So you should definitely check them out, but you should also check him out tonight with us.
Yes. He's fun.
He is.
Yeah. Thanks.
We hope you enjoy.
Central Rock the bus behind the 744 Gate Avenue on 750 Gate Avenue.
Well, I just said all the important stuff. I thought we were about to sign off.
Oh, that's it now.
Darn. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Oh man. You want to get the plug for this?
Hello. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm getting.
Okay.
She has to get her computer all set up. So,
okay.
Hi. So we got Vince.
Hey guys.
From Chicago's Bravest Stories.
Oh, that's right.
You should listen to them because they got fun accents.
I should talk.
What? We're listening to stuff the other day, and I'm like explaining to Joe, I'm like, this is a lead out. I'm like, a lead out's when you lay hose lines down, and she's like, what? So. Yeah.
What do you guys call it in New York? What do you guys do?
Stretching a line. Yeah, stretching a line. Yeah. Okay. So, pretty much as everybody calls it. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one, Pete.
I like the fun terms from all over the place. So,
I think the terminology is awesome. Like, that's what I love about like doing our podcast is we get to hear the guys from the suburbs. I mean, and just within the city, how the north is different than the south side and the west side. It's each still district has their own like ecosystem. Yeah. And it's cool to peek into there and see, we all do things differently. And that's what I love about, what we do is you get a little bit of culture within your culture.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's the thing is like, a lot of people, if you're just from like, FDNY or whatever, you don't realize that there's a whole nother world outside of where you work, and there's so many different neat ways to do things,
Also, even in the city, like if you're in our borough in Brooklyn, it's done differently than they do things in Queens, and the bosses are different. And, even the folks who work there are a little bit different. So it's kind of, it's interesting. EMS is very quirky. Like we all have our things,
Yeah. Well, Pete, you were talking about like, learning from, I'm down at the academy now. And one of the things I like about being down there is I learned just as much from the candidates as I try to teach them. Everybody, I have 104 people bringing their different perspective and bringing different knowledge. You'll have guys who are coming out. Yeah, they're candidates for the Chicago Fire Department, but they are seasoned lieutenants or captains from suburban departments with lots of credentials, lots of certs. And I try to be as good of a student down at the academy as an instructor.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I think that as far as like EMS, we have to keep an open mind, that everybody can kind of teach you a little bit of something, from like your initial class, and then you learned it this way, and then you kind of put your spin on it, and then you pass it on to somebody else, and hopefully they're going to put their spin and pass that on. So
yeah, well, we've all worked with that salty guy that it's his way or the highway. Those guys aren't ever going away.
Yeah.
No, they won't. So
but yeah, I'm trying. You definitely got to have an open mind.
Yeah. So I had like an epiphany last night. I was like, I think I'm the old guy finally. It's finally sunk in. Yeah. So I was like, I didn't sleep very well last night. I was thinking about it. I was like, oh no, I'm the old guy now.
You're not like salty about it. I mean, you're more like, you still love this job, and you get really adamant about it, I guess.
So guys like you, we gotta cling and hold on to guys like you, Pete, who have the time and who are willing to teach, because we're losing both of those characteristics in this new generation in EMS. The guys with the time on don't want to teach, and I think my personal opinion is, and I know it's the same by you guys, is we're getting crushed. Our guys are getting forced back every other day. And, these are guys who are doing 24, 20, 30 runs a day. And your guys are busy, going home, bro.
Your guys are busy.
Yeah, we're busy, and COVID has wiped out a good chunk of our department. So we're hurting. It's really bad.
What do you guys call it if you're getting mandated for overtime?
We call it a rehire.
Oh,
okay.
So
how long did they hold you for?
You're forced back. So you'll come off your 24-hour shift. Per our contract, we have to be off for 24 hours.
Okay.
But after that, you're forced back on your mirror shift.
Wow.
So the Chicago paramedics work 1 day on, 3 days off.
Okay.
So if you work on the first shift, your mirror shift is the third shift.
Okay.
And if you're, on the second, your mirror shift is the fourth shift. So whatever shift you're on, you're going to get mandatory back on your mirror shift.
Wow.
And as you guys know, 24 hours on a busy ambulance isn't enough time to recover and get back. It's so bad for you. That lack of sleep and, your body and your central nervous system are just completely depleted, and you're just keep stacking on and stacking on. So I think with this COVID and the lack of manpower and it's not just Chicago. No, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, So I think the one thing is everybody's finally realizing that you're worth more than, $15 an hour,
And well, not necessarily the people paying the $15 an hour,
but
no, but I think, when COVID happened here initially, and we had mutual aid come, there were so many people that came, and, and after the fact, there was like a Facebook page of like all the folks who came to help us in New York. And in the last couple of months, we've had more mutual aid. And I can't tell you how many people said, like, I'd love to come back, but we're short-staffed here and we need it.
Yeah, there's nobody to send you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no one, Yeah. I still am shocked that you folks do 24-hour shifts, because for us, like, it's 16 hours is like the technical, like, most you can be held for. But, if you have a late job, you might be 17, 18 hours. And I can honestly tell you, like, by the hour 16, I'm like useless. I don't even know which way is up. So I can't even imagine 24.
It's when you're working at 24, we measure how busy our day was by how many you did after midnight. If you did 30 runs before midnight, but slept from midnight on, it doesn't count. You had a good day. You had an easy day. But you could have done 0 runs up until midnight. But if you did 5 after midnight, oh, bro, you got crushed, or we got
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how we measure how busy our day was. It only counts after midnight out here. But most of us, I'm down at the academy now, so I'm speaking past tense.
Okay.
And speaking for my brothers and sisters out there.
Yeah.
They're everybody's typically working, that you work that whole 24, and those guys are doing at least 24 runs a day. Because don't forget, not only is COVID affecting the fire department, but it's also the people that we're taking care of. So we're having more sick people, and we're getting sick too, lessening the manpower. And so there's a lot going on. What are you guys calling each other?
I don't know.
Sorry.
What are you doing, Joel?
I'm not. Sorry. Hang on. I don't know. I can't turn it off. How do I turn it off? Thanks. Sorry.
You turn around and you throw it right at that wall right there.
I know.
Joel.
I was trying to. Sorry about that.
So,
that's all right.
You guys, because I don't know, like I talked to you before, I'm like Eddie Joseph and stuff, and you guys have a specific area. You guys come out of a firehouse and then you cover a district. Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Even though where Eddie works and where I work, we're, I don't know, I'd say we're probably within 2 miles of each other.
Okay.
But we're in different districts.
Okay.
But I'll take his runs, he'll take my runs.
Yeah.
The joke is we're citywide, but you have your it's basically the still district that the engine from your house would respond to. Okay. Their still district is your still district. Those lines are so, if you're in your area and you have a run in your area while you're on, somebody has to come and take that run. Yeah. And there's a lot of pride involved with most of the crews who are busy. If you're at a hospital and you're hearing your engine go out, or you're hearing another ambulance being because everybody knows what your area is, roughly. Yeah. And if you hear somebody going to your area to take up one of your runs, you're going to be like, hey, that's my run, put me on it. Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is that person who was coming to take a run, they're just going to another run. Yeah. But most of us in busy companies, there's still a lot of pride out there that I don't want anybody taking my runs. Huh. Yeah. I don't want anybody coming in there. I don't want anybody taking a run with my engine. That's my run, and I'll take it. No matter how busy. Obviously, there are times you're just started your cardiac arrest documentation. Yeah. I gotta do that first. And everybody understands that. Yeah. And it is what it is. If somebody's taking your run, everybody knows what we do out there and how busy things are. We definitely don't have enough to cover the call volume, which is the case across the country. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's basically cool. Like, I like you're not just hanging out. Like if you're in the hospital, just like chatting with the nurse and you hear someone going to a job in your area, you're going to get it, right? You're not just like, oh,
that's my run.
Yeah. That's my run. I like that culture, like that. That's sort of a lost art here.
That's something we, hopefully the younger generation coming on can gravitate to those guys who operate like that, because just like in any big municipality or any corporation, you're going to have great workers, you're going to have subpar workers, and then you're going to have what we commonly refer to in the city as a load. Interesting. If somebody calls you a load, it's not a good thing. Huh. That's the guy who may take an hour and a half for every run at the hospital, or he'll be sitting right next to you and you'll both hear the run coming over for his area and you're taking it, sitting right next to that guy. That guy's a load.
I don't want to.
You guys don't want to be alone, all right?
No. Here it's called a little different. I mean,
you're called a skell.
A skell, like you're skelling out on your jobs.
Skelling out.
Yeah.
Really?
Like, wow, there's skells, man. Like you heard like an arrest come in their area and you're like, oh, okay, so we're taking their job. Like, wow, they're skells. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like what you don't want to be called here,
Wow. Mm-hmm. And you guys call, like, we call them runs. You guys call them jobs?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's kind of mixed. It depends where you go.
Calls.
calls, runs. What else?
The police,
Jobs,
the Chicago Police Department uses jobs.
Okay.
As in their terminology.
Their jargon. I wonder where that came from. I mean, for us, like, it's like,
I forget.
oh my God,
I just heard it somewhere.
job.
I can't remember who was talking about it. Yeah.
Or I had this call but job is like mostly, I feel like what
we never use that term. We'd be like, hey, how was that job that you went? We never do that.
Really?
Never. Yeah. Never.
How was that run?
It's always the run.
Wow.
How was that run? How was that call? As it.
And so we were talking to somebody before. Can you, on your computer, can you see what other crews are doing on the computer and like the call details?
Yeah.
You can look at everybody's.
Yeah, you can punch them in and see their run.
Their run.
So,
yeah.
Wow, man.
I wish.
I'm jealous. I know
they won't let us. Yeah.
It doesn't change anything.
It doesn't matter.
No, because sometimes it would change it for us.
It would.
Like,
really?
Yeah, because for us, like, there's times we're sitting and hanging out and we hear something like, oh, so-and-so, you're going to the, major trauma or, whatever. And I'm like, ooh, what is that? And then we'll like put their code in, and then it comes up with an address. And then I will call my station and talk to the lieutenant. I'll be like, what is that job about? And then the lieutenant will be like, oh, it looks good. There's like 3 people laying on the ground and a car's flipped over. And then we just start heading there, Well, we can't see it.
You should see when one person in our area gets called for a shooting, then you can hear the typing going on. They want to know where it's at, who's going, how many people got, if it's a fire, how many people are going? Are they still looking for people? If they're still looking for people for a multiple shooting, you punch it up and, somebody may say, oh, they have 5 victims, and you punch up their run and they only have 3 ambulances on it. You'll be like, oh, I'm available if you, I'm right there. Or what we do is I'm on my way there. Put me on that ticket. Yeah. I don't even give them a choice. I'm just
we don't need that ticket. Yeah, we're like, we'll come over to radio. Like, put us on that one. Put us on with that unit, and then we'll do show us flagged. That's our big one. So if you want to get on the job, it just means we're flagged down to take the job. So it was like a shooting.
Showed up and cops were like, hey, you guys are here. Why not take this patient? So, and it's like, we're just driving.
Doesn't want to give it to you. She doesn't want to give it to you. You drive in that area and I'm like, oh my God, they're flagging us down. It's like, show us flag for that. So
that's something we do on our bike team, because we'll patrol the downtown area, the beach area, and our bike team does all the special events. Okay. And one of the things we do is we listen to the police channel, because in Chicago, every 911 call goes through the police first, and then they'll disseminate it to us as needed. So when we listen to them, if we hear the police and it's something that we can bike to and we can make, a lot of times we'll be like, hey, we got a hand waiver, we're being flagged, and we could be blocks away, but we're hustling now because we're trying to make that run, because it hasn't gotten to the fire side yet. So nobody's been dispatched for it.
Yes, no ambulances en route yet.
Right. Because our bike team is so aggressive, it's a bunch of hard chargers. We're trying to jump that run.
Yes.
We're trying to get there. And so we're trying to get the run before CFD even gets it. So,
no, we do the same thing. We listen to citywide police or that precinct and stuff.
Not everyone does,
not everybody. So
well,
I wish we had a bike team.
Chief once told me, when it comes to the radios, and this is a chief who told him, this has been handed down to me, but I think it's a great saying. When it comes to having your radio on, he said, you can't be in the game if you don't have the game on. And
that's very true.
He would come and he would show up at work early, and first thing he would do is turn his radio on. And he asked, my buddy who is a retired chief now, said, he asked them, what's with the radio all the time? He's like, you can't be in the game if you don't have the game on.
That's
and it resonated with him, and he passed that on to me, and now I'm giving it to New York.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. You have to, man. Like, and then the other thing, like, I hate to say it, we don't have any competition. So, cause everybody uses GPS and stuff. So I can destroy most of them. So
Well, that's one of the skills for so the guys who drive the ambulances, those are called FPMs, fire paramedics.
Oh yeah, because all right, so we'll get into that because that's confusing
okay,
too.
You got a whole thing on that. All right, well,
yeah, finish that and then because I have. Well, I was trying to figure this out.
When you're talking about competition, when it comes to like stealing shootings or stabbings or fires, the competition's scary. People are, and because they, everybody wants to be involved in we always tell each other, hey, I'll see you at the big one. Yeah. Everybody wants to go to the big one, right?
Yep.
And so there's a lot of competition with runs like that. And I think it's a great part of what we do, and everybody should have that. Is there going to be the same competition for the abdominal pain or the seizure on the third floor? Of course not. Hey, that's probably your run, man. No, that's your run. Go get them. Go get them.
That's it.
But
do you have any key moves that you do like to do?
Key what?
Key moves that you use to steal people's patients?
Oh, to steal like good runs? Yeah. I'll say that I'm, hey, put me on that. I'm down the block. And as I'm saying that, my partner, especially when you start working, with somebody for a long time, you already know we're already doing 1,000 miles an hour heading over that. Because he knows that I'm going to say we're down the block. Yeah. And we do have GPS in our rigs, and some spares weren't outfitted with them, so they can't see where we are. But even sometimes, because you start getting a reputation as, a guy who like a hard charger who wants to grab these runs, and even though you're bullshitting them basically on the radio, they can look down and see that you're really not around the block. Yeah. But you're hustling, and you could potentially beat that still company there. They'll leave you on it.
Huh.
Yeah,
I feel
I like to come around the block. I come around because if everybody's driving
we're right around the corner.
We'll go around the block, and then I back down, and everybody grabs like all their shit, and we just like, she grabs the bag and the stretch, and I'll get the stretcher, and she's already down the block, and they're getting all their stuff, and they're walking down. We already have the patient. We're running back to the truck. So
and then because we backed into the block, we can just pull away.
Get back. They're all blocked in.
Well, for runs where there's like a multiple shooting run or a bad accident on an expressway, we're always trying to get there, because you don't want to be, how we triage, you don't want to be the last ambulance to show up, because you're going to get the person having the panic attack. Yeah. Right. Yep. If you're going to go through all that effort, make it worth your while. Like you want to be the one taking care of the person who needs the most help.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's kind of the motivation for, the people who are with these busy companies.
Yeah.
Which is honestly exciting and like great for anyone who gets like traumatically injured in Chicago, is that like there's going to be a unit there like quickly to get you, and they want to help you, aggressively. So we have, and I think the way things are right now, it's kind of beating some of that excitement out of them, just because they're overworked right now. Everybody is. And the worst part about what we're going through is there doesn't seem to be any solution or any light at the end of the tunnel right now. We're trying, the fire department, and I know because they were in the same building as we were at training, and they are doing the best that they can to get these guys back to work. With COVID symptoms or whatever, they are working their asses off to try to bolster back up the manpower, but has many that they're returning the same amount, if not more, are getting sick again. So it is a vicious circle with us right now. And I don't know if it's like that with you guys. Yeah, we had that maybe two weeks ago. I feel like in December around the holidays is when it was for us, where it was like, half the station would be out for these 2 weeks or whatever, 10 days. And then we'd all come back in, and the second half of the station would be going out. So it was like I had COVID. And then as soon as I came back, it was like I was working a whole weekend where it was like, I just got mandated like to stay each shift, you know?
Did you, when you had COVID, did you get really bad? Were you really sick?
Not with this one. No.
Okay.
This one I had like 2 days of being sick.
Really? I don't know what I got, but I lost my sense of smell. I was a mess for 2 weeks, like as sick as I've ever been. Like I was very concerned for my health and well-being. And I'm a healthy person.
Yeah.
I have zero comorbidities.
Yeah.
I work out. I eat relatively healthy, but I was as sick as I've ever been. And here's the kicker. My PCR and my rapid test both came back negative.
Get out of here.
And I couldn't get off the couch. I would go to try to take a shower and I would come close to passing out to the point where I have to like jump out of the shower, lay down on the floor. I was super sick, and I would, 2 weeks of being sick. And then a week after that, just, I was able to function, but I was still like, felt like crap.
When was this, Vince?
This was right before Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why, and those exact symptoms that I told you, a lot of people that I ran into down at medical had the exact same thing. Either you had nothing like Julie, or you were on your deathbed like me.
That's scary. Because I know when I had COVID the previous October, and I felt pretty sick for about 10 days or so. I felt crummy and fatigued and nauseous. I had a headache, but I had been sick previously when COVID first happened.
COVID. Yeah.
And it was like, I lost 10 pounds. I was dragging myself to the bathroom. Like I really, like he came and gave me fluids because I was like, my tongue was like furrowed, I was like so dehydrated.
Yeah. Somebody put a line on me too.
Yeah, but I didn't have COVID. Like I got tested, then I got tested for antibodies. I didn't have them. But the one in October, it was COVID. I tested positive. And then this go around in December, over a year later, I was okay. Like I had 2 days of like fever and feeling crummy. And then that was it. I was like back in it, but that's very scary. Like, especially the loss of smell and stuff. That's like such a COVID symptom.
You have to get a doctor's note to come back saying that, now with the fire department, you have to get past those 10 days. I think they've knocked it down to 5 now.
Yeah.
They keep changing the narrative of how this virus works. So I think we're down.
They have to, because nobody's going to be stuck to work. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, but isn't that interesting though, that it was 10 days before, and that was like, that's it, but now they cut it down in half, not because the virus is any less dangerous, it's because we need people back out on the street.
Yeah.
So the motivation to change it isn't based on medical evidence, it's based on personnel need.
Yeah.
We're in some crazy times, and I hope that we'll go back when all 3 of us are retired, and we'll be like, hey, I worked during the COVID days.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
the COVID years.
And that's
it's definitely a milestone in EMS, right?
Yeah. I say that. I mean, I feel like we've talked about this, Pete and I, like it's going to be a pretty wild thing, like later in life for any of us, right? For any of us here, to have lived through COVID, right? There's going to be kids who remember like not being in school. Like there's going to be people who work from home for 2 years. But for us, it's, it's like anyone in healthcare. I think the COVID years are going to be a pretty kind of like crazy time to look back on. And hopefully we're looking back on it and it sort of goes away at some point, but.
Well, you want to hear something funny? When COVID first came out in Chicago, I didn't get assigned. I worked the COVID rig, and I only responded to COVID symptoms. And
I remember you said this. Yeah.
We talked about that. So I think I worked on that rig for 3 months.
Yeah.
Never got tested, never got sick, never even had a sniffle. I go to the academy. a month into the academy, I'm sick as a dog. You know, I haven't seen a patient, you know, in about 2 months since I've been down there. And I basically get COVID.
It's
My
crazy.
doctor said, no matter what your test says, you have COVID.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Maybe your immunity is just changing, you know.
It's funny because a lot of places had COVID trucks, you know, like we heard that and they would tell us, oh yeah, we got a COVID unit. And we're like, yeah, we're switching gowns, doing a Lysol shower, and it's like, get back out there.
But
So,
I'm
we
kind
weren't
of shocked
even
at
doing that
Chicago.
between runs.
Yeah,
No?
because Chicago's so busy. Like, you know, I felt
I
like the
think we
COVID
had-
trucks.
We had 2 south and 2 north,
okay.
I believe, a day. And like I said, they outfitted our rig with all kinds. We had the Pappers, which is like a completely encapsulated.
Yeah.
Wear a backpack with the filtrated air. Never took it out, of course. But you know what we did do? We went to the dollar store. We bought a see-through shower curtain, and we put that across. So in the captain's seat, it's right in front of me. We would have the wires to our monitor go through. I would come in one door, the patient would come in the other door, and they would put the blood pressure cuff on, and from behind, you know, so there was a barrier between me and the patient, because we were getting sick patients, and we had very little understanding of this virus at that time. And we were trying to take every precaution that we could, and we would vital them. We would actually monitor them on our pulse ox and monitor the whole way to the hospital. They got amazing care, but we were hyper vigilant about the you know, the distancing,
transmission and stuff.
So where our exhaust fan for inside our ambulance is actually on the side with the patient. So it's the curtain, the patient, and then the exhaust fan. So we were really doing a pretty good job with how we distances, you know, we're protecting ourselves from this virus as best we could. But like I said, by the end of the detail, we were just putting on hospital masks. I think we were pretty much in N95s the whole time, and that was pretty much the extent of our PPE by the end of the detail. And it is what it is. It's so hard to carry somebody down the stairs or do CPR with that N95 on.
Oh my God.
And it was just a rough go to respond every single run like that.
I feel like the N95, however,
it was horrible. Remember that we had a couple carry down. So we're like, and the guy had COVID and it was so bad, like we couldn't breathe. I was like, I'm taking it off.
You know, it's
hard. And I wear glasses, so like literally the second I breathe through them or through an N95, these just completely fog up, and then I can't see anything, you know? So I'm like trying to take care of a patient. Either I'm blind when I'm doing it because I'm taking these off, or I just have foggy glasses and I can't actually see anyway. You know, we had no face shields or anything like that, you know, it was just, but, you know, I mean, hopefully the virus seems to be getting more catchy, but it's like getting less harsh, I guess. I don't know, or less deadly. I don't know.
Well,
but
we'll see.
I know, we'll see.
I was the guy telling people, they'll never close down schools. This will never happen. Then they close the shit. Like, oh boy.
Were you guys at that big fire?
No,
in the Bronx.
That was we worked the night before, and that was like 11 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning.
That was pretty horrific, huh?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
You know, we don't usually, I mean, fires, I don't want to say that never happens, but in New York these days, it's not like that bad anymore. You know what I mean? Like the way buildings are built, you know, I mean, I've been to, like, we had a 5-alarm fire a couple winters ago, and it was like in a warehouse. So, you know, it kept going because it was just like all cheap little goods in this warehouse that just like stayed lit on fire, but there were no patients, you know, it was like the middle of the night, nothing, you know, nobody was there. But this,
I mean, that seems like a perfect storm of
terrible.
That was, and then like Philadelphia had one.
Oh, he had it right before,
right?
Yeah. He had a kid that lit the tree on fire.
Yeah.
And stuff.
feel like the winter always gets these horrible fires, you know, like space heaters, Christmas trees that are dried out. You know, there's a lot of dangerous stuff in the winter, more so than the summer.
The Bronx always has weird stuff going on anyway. So that's
is the Bronx like, is that the busiest borough for you guys?
I think it's between us and it's between Brooklyn and the Bronx. So, but you could argue with them over like, you know, who's busier. So it's a different clientele, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but it is a real busy.
They're both busy. It's, you know, the thing that slows us down, the biggest thing that slows us down and keeps ambulances from getting back out there is the triage system. So our triage system is horrible and stuff. So you can have 10 or 15 units backed up during a day. So.
Oh man, really?
Yeah. I do feel like that, especially because we have we're, you know, already below the level of ambulances, right, that you're supposed to have in the city. I think that's the unfortunate thing. I know when we went to Detroit, it was like shockingly efficient. You know,
and that was the crazy, you know, we're in Detroit and their triage system was amazing. You know, there was,
when you guys are saying triage system on how they send ambulances out?
No. So triage, when you get to the hospital.
And the hospitals receive us.
So like the turnover at the hospital and stuff. So
there's really no triage in place unless you have a critically injured or ill patient who you're giving a notification before you even get there. Those people are treated, you know, expeditiously because like you already told them, hey, we're doing CPR, or, hey, we're bagging this guy. But like everyone else,
have a guy with a itchy belly button, you got to sit there with him until he gets.
Even if your patient has chest pain. Even if you know your patient.
Nobody gets a wheelchair. It's a rarity to get a wheelchair.
Wow. And stuff. Put everybody
like,
in a bed.
Even if you walk somebody in, I'll say 8 out of 10 times they're gonna get a bed.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
and
what's it? I mean, for you guys, what is? Do you feel like the triage system, like, or the receiving system, is pretty good, or it's streamlined, or?
It is. Well, we have I don't know if it's a regional thing, but a lot of people can go just out into the waiting room and be seen by triage when they're called. Some of the busier areas that you work in, you'll give the report to the nurse and they'll be like, put them out here, you know, have them fill out this form, and then they'll call them based on triage.
Yeah.
You know, if you have somebody who is sick, you should have a pretty good working relationship with the people at these hospitals by now. If you go in and be like, hey, this guy probably should go back, they'll accommodate you. Or these hospitals just don't have any more beds in the ER anymore. There's just nowhere to put them, you know. They're not allowed by their like national standards of putting beds in hallways and stuff like that. They're not supposed to be doing that, but I'm sure you guys see it a lot more than we do. There's hallways that are just lined up with beds.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Where a person can barely slide past sideways in some of these hallways. They're doubled up.
But they're just, every hospital is filled to capacity.
Yeah.
And when there's nowhere to go, you have to sit there until they literally discharge somebody, you know, like hot racking it. They're coming out, you're going in, you know. They'll say, hey, you guys are going to go to 23 as soon as he walks out.
Oh my God.
You know, that's just the state of EMS that we're at right now.
It's crazy.
And, however, the same as we feel and inundated, the ERs are in the exact same boat.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how they say, do they ask you, why did you bring them here?
All the time.
Like, why do you ask this?
Right.
You know,
and my answer is like, I didn't want to bring them here.
I know. I tried to talk them out of it. You know,
right. This is out of my hands. Do you think this is my idea?
God.
Like, where
people take Tylenol?
My house.
Yeah.
You know,
do your people actually take Tylenol, or do they have to go to the ER for the doctor to tell them to take the Tylenol?
If we bring somebody in who needs Tylenol, they have to be seen by at least a nurse in order to take that Tylenol.
Like, we'll have people and they'll have a headache and you're like, did you take Tylenol? You know, my back hurts. And they're like, no, I didn't take Tylenol. Do you have any? Yeah. Well, I didn't know if I should take it. Like,
Yeah, that doesn't figure out. That doesn't figure in the equation.
No, I don't.
That's why we have jobs, Pete.
Yes,
I know. We'll never be out of work. I mean,
We'll never be out of work. Yep.
So what made you want to go up to the academy then?
I was at the academy before, and I enjoy the teaching. I enjoy the there's a whole the way it works out and the way it plays out between the candidates and the instructors. The candidates show up and day one, it's very paramilitary. It's the instructors are disciplinarians, and you evolve from there. And I really enjoy the part where you get to the point where, and I'm not an instructor who does much yelling. I'm more like, our job here is to educate them. That's what we're doing here. But you have to make sure that you have that captive audience, because neither it's going to be disruptive to the other people who need to learn, who are willing to learn, and who want to learn. And you still have your job to do. And I went down there because I had a good experience when I was a candidate, and I went down and I thought that I would enjoy the process of making the person off the street a better candidate as they move through the process. I enjoy that transformation of civilian to candidate to, crossing the stage. And when you see the candidate that you've invested all that time with cross the stage in his Class A uniform, and you know that he's going to go out there with the knowledge that you provided and really help to foster a good EMT or a good paramedic, it's an amazing feeling. And that's what keeps me going down there.
That's exciting. I mean, I think that's great. Cool. Like, it's a great reason to go up there, like you like EMS, you love EMS, it's your career. You want to make that be someone else's experience,
Yeah. And for me, and with Chicago, there's not too much opportunity to do other things on my department. And so just has a change of pace and like I said, for me, I think everybody who's going to stay on the EMS side should go down in some capacity and teach, because it makes you a better paramedic as well. When I go back to the street, I don't think anybody should ever stay down at training and make training their career, because at some point you're going to be out of touch with what's really going on the street. And I think everybody should at least go down there just to make themselves a better paramedic. You ever heard the term, do it, teach it? And that's kind of how I feel about going down there as an instructor. Teaching it keeps me up on my skills. It keeps me up on like what's new in EMS, and I don't ever want to get stagnant in my education as a paramedic.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. I like that.
How do you guys get your instructors down at the academy?
You apply. So
yeah,
there's
you have
like a constant
apply.
application open.
And well, it's like, I think once a year they do the admission thing. Maybe in October they hire, or they look to hire. People apply. You have to come down to the academy, take a practical exam, like a skills exam, and a regular written exam, and you have to get a certain
I think it's an 80, at least an 80,
something like that. Yeah.
Do you guys feel it's they choose people based, like it's about who you know down there, or is it straight up across the board? They
a little bit of both. Probably a little bit of both. A little
bit of both.
So, but apparently from what we hear, if you're good, you don't get out. So
yeah, that's the thing.
Like,
I kind of feel like,
like you're voted on that island forever.
There are people who want to stay up there and go up there, in my opinion, a little early on in their career, and then kind of just stay up there. So I think are required, or they used to be required to do like, a tour out in the field or something once a month, but I'm not sure how that works nowadays because of the 12-hour tours outside and they're 8 hours or 8.5 inside. But yeah, I mean, like the great instructors, like the people who've got like tons of street experience, tons of just like medical knowledge and experience, when they go up there, that's what ends up happening is like people really love them and they're great. And, they'll kind of like say, okay, I'm going to go back to the streets now. And like, they're like, oh, we can't lose you, like you're the, you're the lead instructor for this one. So.
Well, and I say this because I've seen it. Not everybody with a lot of time on should be passing on their knowledge. I mean, you guys.
Yeah, not everybody's a good teacher.
I know that I know that you guys know the same people. It's not a knock on them.
Yeah.
Some people just aren't teachers, and there are some people who have a lot of time on that have just fallen into bad ways or bad habits. And if we want to keep moving EMS forward and keep putting out a good product for the citizens in which you work for, you have to keep being on that cutting edge of, having the compassion, the education, and the dedication to do the job. It's and that's not always it. I find that is most abundant in the paramedics right around that 5-year mark. They're still gung-ho.
Yeah.
They still love being busy. They haven't reached that point where they're completely burnt out, and there's still that love of the job.
Yeah.
But and I think that's not just for EMS. That probably is the same with every other job out there.
Yeah, because you got to switch it up.
Yeah.
You need something different every now and then. So.
Yeah. And it's weird saying that because every run we go on is different, but every run we go on is a lot the same.
Yeah. We seem to go to like the same. If you really think about it, you go to the same streets all the time.
Yeah.
There's a few streets you always go to,
It's, it's also, it's just, that's the job. And even though I love that the job is not every day is the same, I think that's what keeps it like stimulating and fun. But I guess there comes a point where you're just tired, maybe you're tired, like you like the job, but you're like, oof, I've been carrying people up and down the stairs, or, I don't know if I want to do this right now. I think taking a break from that, maybe if you want to teach, if you're good at that, or you're still interested. Because I feel like the sad thing is this job, and not just here, but like EMS in general, wants to like, squeeze blood from a rock. Like they really will work you until, you're incapable of doing anything further. And then they'll still ask for, a couple more hours or something. And
or they'll throw you away and you get thrown away after. It's like, all right, see you later.
Yeah, that's sad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we on our podcast, we had a guy that had 37 years on the job.
Wow.
He was all in. He was a firefighter, great guy, and he got hurt at a fire. He had a wall fall on him during a fire. Hurt his hamstring, basically came disconnected, like detached.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let him back medically. And it's like 37 years was just worth nothing. That's how he felt, and that's how he took it. I had been trying to get this guy on the podcast for 2 years. When we first started, I was like, this guy is somebody I definitely want to get on. And I've been working on him. And it wasn't until he finally agreed to come on last week that we recorded that he was like, Vince, I wasn't in a good spot to talk about it because I felt like I was done a disservice. I really had a bad taste in my mouth. And now he's come to terms with it. And I don't know if you guys have had this feedback from your podcast, but we get a lot of guys who come on ours, and after it's all said and done, I'll get a text or I'll get a phone call after, and they'll say, I really needed that. I feel so much better that I got that off my chest, or I that's the first time I was able to talk about it. And they're thanking me, and I'm like, I'm the one thanking you guys. You guys went out of your way to come on my silly podcast and have a glass of whiskey with us.
Yeah.
You don't have to thank me.
I know. That's I wish, and that's the thing, like our supervisor, his wife, she just retired and stuff. So like she messed up her back, and she's pretty salty about, everything that happened to her, through her time. Our other lieutenant, her husband, he went through like a million things to get retired medically, and then, some guys on the fire side, it's super easy. It's like, all right, you're good. But it's like, everybody gets done differently in different services, and not everyone wants to talk about it because I don't know, they're just so salty over it.
Well, it's a sad feeling when you gave your life,
your career,
your career to something that you loved at the time. And then at the end of it, you just feel like, oh, wow, I thought I made a difference, or I thought I was something here. My dad was a firefighter for 32 years. He would have stayed on until he had to retire, and he had a stroke down at Ground Zero. And it took many years for him to be able to retire 3/4. They kind of were like, oh, that's not related to 9/11 or whatever. And I think he was really hurt, but he didn't really talk about it. My dad was kind of old school, but my mom did. And she was very upset because it was like, this was my dad's life, like being a firefighter. And then to leave and feel like you didn't mean anything,
Right. Well, what people need to realize with first responders across the board is after 37 years, think about how many birthdays you've missed, how many graduations, how many, how much. For us, we're losing, we're losing every fourth day to the department. So that adds up after 37 years. How much of your life have you given, and how much have you sacrificed in your personal life? You don't get to see your kids grow up in that chronological order, and there's a lot of times that you miss. For me, like, I think about it all the time because I didn't get to the times where I would have loved to tuck my son in, give him a kiss goodnight, or watch him take his first step, or go to the park. You're sacrificing these things that you're not even realizing until much later that you sacrificed.
Yeah.
And when you're coming to the end of your career, I could see now, after it's been put in perspective to me by people who have gone through this process, that I'm able to see it from that side now, that all the sacrifices that you made, now you're realizing them, especially if you feel like you've been done wrong,
Yeah. So does that make you take less overtime now? And this is why you have your podcast?
For me, when I don't really take voluntarily, I don't take overtime unless it's for our bike team.
Yeah.
Just because when I'm in a busy, I'm assigned to a busy firehouse.
Okay.
And when you get rehired, you go right back to busy. You never get rehired to a slow ambulance.
Yeah.
It's always rehired back to the busiest parts of the city, the busiest ambulances. And for me, I have other things that I want to do. And the last place I want to be on my day off is right back out there that I fought that 24 hours to get out of. It's not about the money for me.
Yeah.
It's about my quality time and my quality of life. And for that 24 hours, I'm all in. You guys that's my job. The citizens of Chicago are getting me as best as I can be for this 24 hours. But when I'm done, I'd rather be with my son. I'd rather be at the gym we own. I'd rather be doing podcasts with amazing people. And I just have other things that I'd rather be doing, that I'd rather be enjoying than doing EMS.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good way of putting it. It's, I feel like when I was younger, like, and I got mandated for overtime, I mean, I didn't really have much of a choice, and I didn't like love it, but I stayed, or I did overtime because that's what you did. But yeah, and it's different now. Like now that I'm older, now that I have very little time to myself in the first place, when I get mandated,
I don't want to be at work.
Right. I really don't. I have too much other stuff going on. Like, I don't get to be with my son for Christmas or something, and it's fine. I certainly wouldn't volunteer to come in on a day like that. Or basically it's my last day on, and I'm going to be with my child later. And then, they're like, well, you're gonna have to stay an extra 4 hours. And I hate to say it, but I'm like, well, no, I'm not. I'm just leaving now, and I'll take the paperwork for it.
Yeah.
But I'm not staying. So that's what it is, and it's kind of a bummer to feel like that. But I also have realized, like 15 years into this, that like, I'm not going to get like that couple of dollars or the couple of hours I put into comp time doesn't equal what I lose,
Yeah, I agree 100. That's why I don't do it.
Yeah.
If I didn't have anything else going on in my life, or I was really needing the money, then that's one thing. But my quality of time and my quality of life at this point in my life where I'm at right now, that's way more important to me.
Yeah.
If I get mandatory, I just say, all right, boss, where am I going? Oh, I'm going here. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's called mandatory for a reason.
Yeah. So if you work on another ambulance, how is that? How do they treat you over there?
Because I work where I'm going to be rehired in that same area, most of the people know me. I work with most of the same guys, and they all know that you're there on a rehire. So one of the things that we do when you get rehired, when you go to pay the cook, you give the cook extra money because you're making extra money and you kick in. And when we had what was this, maybe 2 years ago, all the engineers and all the captains and lieutenants were getting rehired every day. So no matter what firehouse you went to, the cook was always having extra money.
Yeah.
And so I was getting and this is like so weird even hearing it come out of my mouth, but I was so sick of eating steak and lobster every day at the firehouse, right? I'm like, I can't believe I'm complaining about this, but
wow.
God, we've had, because these guys take all the extra money. They're like, oh man, we're having steak tonight. The captain's on overtime, so it's that's kind of a tradition here. And I don't know, do you guys have it where Saturdays are we have corned beef, and Sundays we have pizza?
See, I would love
to say it's a free for all. Yeah,
because it's traditional, because we've had the it was almost all Irish, the fire department back in the early days of the fire department.
Yeah.
And that was just the way it was. So, and
no,
I'm not a huge fan of corned beef. And so
I love corned beef and I'd love to eat it, but there's probably a few EMS stations in the city that do cook, but for the vast majority of us, we don't have time. There's some people like on Sundays at our station during the day tour, they'll cook. And so the day tour kind of eats, but for us at night, it's like pretty rare.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that you guys have a different dynamic. We're physically in our firehouse, and one of the firemen is always assigned to cook that day. Mm-hmm. So when you come in, it's like right now it's $20. Everybody gives the cook $20, and he shops for the day. You'll have lunch, and then you'll have dinner, and he'll have snacks for you to have throughout the day. But the medics never cook, because if we cooked, you'd never have a meal.
Yeah.
But we'll try to work our way back to the firehouse, and the good houses will have your meal, because chances are you're not going to be there to eat it with them. But they'll make you a plate, and there's always a spot on top of the stove where all the plates are for that they prepare for you. So they'll,
wow,
that's very nice. Yeah.
That would be nice. Like once in a while, like we'll have like a waffle Wednesday or something, but we haven't. It's just been so busy that we can't get back to the station.
We do 24s, so it's different because at the end of our shift we can't go home and eat. We're there for the entire day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I could see where you guys were just like, oh, we're here for 16 hours, fuck it, I'll just grab something. You guys eat out a lot then, huh?
Well, you have to. It depends.
Or you bring food.
Yeah, you got to try to, like, lately you've had to bring food because you can't get to the place that you want to eat at.
You guys are that busy, huh?
Yeah.
So,
like even getting a cup of coffee, I feel like we'll be standing in the coffee shop and then we get another job. And it's like, we did a shift like a few weeks ago where it was like 10 hours before we got to eat anything or have coffee or anything, because you can't even, if something's going to take 5 minutes to throw together in a restaurant, that 5 minutes might be like too long for us to actually get the food, Well,
you know what? It was getting so bad out by us that our chiefs were coming out being like, hey, let me know if you haven't had lunch, if you haven't eaten, if it's like 8:00 at night and you haven't had lunch or dinner yet, let me know. And they'll put you under like special duty to run back to the firehouse, grab your food. Just and that's really the good bosses do that because it's the good bosses looking out for their crew. A lot of times a crew is like, no, we're good. Maybe they'll grab something, or they won't put themselves in service. They'll just run to the firehouse, grab their food. When they grab their food, they'll hit the button, put them in service. So at least they're able to eat. But, you have if your boss has their finger on the pulse of what you guys are doing out there, they'll send you a message, be like, hey, have you guys eaten yet? And based on your response, either they'll be like, go to the firehouse, I'm going to put you out of service to you. Text me when you've eaten.
That's nice. No. So, and it's tough because if you go to certain areas, there's no food. It's like, at night it's bodega food and stuff. And it's not always, it's, I don't know. We're picky. We eat at the same places because we know the food's going to be the same every time.
Yeah.
So,
well, some of those bodegas make nice sandwiches, don't they?
You make very nice sandwiches.
There's like one that we love, the guy who makes our sandwich. And if he's not in there, then we're like, oh.
Yeah, we'll just turn around like, oh, we got a call. Like we slow roll by. I'm like, oh, look, he's cooking. All right, we'll go there.
I watched this thing where this guy makes these amazing sandwiches. He's like, you can't forget the Bev.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, I think he's in the
who that
Bronx
guy is
or something. I've seen him. I want to go try it.
I'm looking. I get so hungry watching this guy make sandwiches. Can't forget the Bev.
Yeah, but I don't know how you can eat some of those. I showed you that the other day. You remember that guy?
Yeah, and those are huge, right? Like
they're huge. Yeah, he made like some giant thing. They
look so good though.
So good. Yeah, I'll tell you, chopped cheese will come right out of you like venom and fire, quick.
I think that's just because you have a sensitivity to beef that you are unwilling to recognize, Peter.
No, I highly doubt that. No, it's the chopped cheese.
You guys were asking me about our terminology that we use specific to Chicago, like our FPM and.
Yes. All right. So you have an ambulance company, right? It's an ambulance company. Yeah. And there's how many guys are assigned?
There's only two assigned.
Yeah. So on the whole unit for one unit.
We have 4 shifts.
Okay.
And 2 guys a shift.
Okay. So it's 8 people.
So 8 guys assigned to that apparatus.
Okay.
And we have 1 commander who's in charge of everything regarding the ambulance's well-being and his personnel.
Okay.
And then you have for each shift, you either have that commander is going to be on one shift. There's always the commander shift. And then the other shifts, you're going to have an officer, which is the PIC, the paramedic in charge. And he'll sit shotgun to the FPM who drives. So the FPM is the most junior guy. And I say that as far as rank structure, but we have FPMs who have 30 years on the job. They don't want to take promotion. They're comfortable where they are. And, God bless them.
What do they do? Like, what's the difference between a paramedic in charge and the FPM?
And the FPM. So by the letter of the law, the PIC is responsible for the documentation, and then how the division of labor in the back of the ambulance is. The officer will sit in that jump seat at the head of the bed, and his responsibility is more of airway. And if like you have a fire company back there, or you need manpower for whatever reason, he's usually the quarterback.
Okay.
And he'll kind of run the show from that particular spot in the ambulance.
Okay.
The FPM technically is he's responsible for treatment. Okay. Like starting IVs, taking the vitals, whatever. For me and my partner, those lines are purposely blurred, because if I do all the intubations, how is he ever going to get good?
Okay.
All
right.
How is
that's
he
what I
ever
was wondering.
Learn stuff.
Okay.
So and if he does all the IVs, when it comes time for, I might need to start an IV. How am I ever, that's a diminishing skill if you don't use it. And so we do, I do a lot of IVs just so that I can keep my skills up. And if I jump in, like, let's say we have a bad shooting and the fire company throws him back there and we jump in and whatever, he winds up at the head of the bed. I have all the confidence in the world. He knows exactly my expectations for him there, and I'm not going to micromanage him. If he's grabbing an ET tube or an iGel, I know what he's doing, and he doesn't have to worry, because from where I'm at, I'm going to do the IO, and I know every aspect of his job, and he knows every aspect of my job. So I don't have to stop and be like, hey, how do you do this? Or where's this? And same with him. If we are 100% interchangeable, and he can write a report as well.
Yeah.
And, I can drive to the hospital and I can park and I can do everything. So we structure it that way on purpose. And it has paid off now, because I'm down at the academy, and my partner, who's the FPM, they, what we call, they're acting him up. So as an FPM, he's taking the responsibilities of a PIC. So he's moving over, and an even junior person to him will drive him, and he'll take the role of the PIC as an FPM.
Okay. Yeah, because I was always wondering, like, what if you get tired of driving? Like,
if he gets tired of driving, he'll just be like, hey, can you drive for a little bit? I'll be like, yeah, no problem.
Oh, okay. Because the way I understood it is like, the fire paramedic, like, he never texts, and then, the guy in the officer seat, he never drives. So
I always dabble in the worst case scenario, and I don't want to be in a position where I don't know how to drive that ambulance.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be in a position where he doesn't know how to do an airway.
Yeah.
So we really do spend, and I've always made sure that he was well-versed on the documentation side and how to use our tablet and how to do that. And like I said, it's paid off now, because they've been acting him up since I've been down at the academy. So he was able to come out running when they gave him the nod to, hey, I need you to act up, we're short. So he's been a really good resource for our district.
That's cool. And then the ambulance commander is like a lieutenant's position, I guess, something like that.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And they work on like the scheduling and who's working. And
no, we all are assigned to a shift.
Okay.
We only work our shift unless we will make a trade, or we get mandatory, or we're on we'll take the overtime.
Okay.
But we're assigned to that ambulance on that particular shift.
Okay.
So there's no, and we have a whole department called manpower that if we're taking a rehire, they'll tell us, where we're going to go. If you make a trade with somebody, you're supposed, if I traded with Julie, she should be coming to my ambulance and I should be going to her ambulance.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So does it get messed up every now and then? Yeah, absolutely. But for the most part, that's how it's structured when you make a trade, because you're agreeing to that trade based on certain parameters. What do you guys think the biggest parameter for us is when we agree to a trade?
Who you're working with.
Who you're working with. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Before I agree to that trade, I'll be like, hey, who's working that day?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's awesome. Yeah, man, I'm down.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care if it's busy or slow.
Yeah, as long as you have a good partner.
You have somebody
time.
fun. Yeah. Like that makes the day.
I'll do 100 runs if I'm having a great time, you know?
So all these shootings, is it as crazy in Chicago as the news portrays it?
I think it's worse. The news doesn't cover for you. What it takes for you guys to hear about a shooting in Chicago, we've had mass shootings in Chicago where we've had 8 people shot, and it's never even made the local news sometimes.
Wow.
Jesus, that's crazy.
So you'll hear about how bad the violence is, and it's just my opinion that they really downplay the violence here, and understandably so. You know, who wants to go? Yeah,
the tourism suffers if
and you guys have to live in the city too, right?
We do. Yeah, we have to live within the city limits.
So where's it safe?
Well, there are like areas in the city that have been like carved out where it's all like city workers, police, fire, public works, whatever. And because of that, it's super expensive to live. Yeah. Because it's such sought after because the good schools are there. Yeah. You know, crime theoretically is down in those neighborhoods, but we have one of those neighborhoods north and we have one of those neighborhoods south. And, you know, if you live in those neighborhoods, you go to where everybody else lives, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. That's, and you guys have 2. All right. So one other thing is, what is a still and box? Right. What's a still alarm? We'll start with that.
A still alarm is just a call for, it could be like a call for smoke. Okay. Or a call that, you know, that there's fire, but it hasn't been like confirmed. We don't really know. It could potentially be a fire. When you still unbox it, you're calling for other resources based on what you see there. Like it's a confirmed fire, or they may automatically box it on the way there if you're getting multiple calls that there's flames blowing out the windows here. Then you may automatically go to a box alarm. So it's just from the still is like phase 1 of the fire. Still in boxes. Hey, this is a legit. We need the extra resources for a box alarm.
And your still district will be like your first due area, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And
those are the geographic areas where that particular engine or a truck would respond to. That area belongs to them.
Okay. And then you have Englewood and Maine. Same thing?
I don't know how they came up with the terminology, but a street called Cermak, which splits the city in half, basically, is like the dividing line for if you're all the companies south of there. And it like I said, it's those lines get blurred when you get around by Cermak. But for the most part, all your companies that operate and that are housed south of there will use the Englewood channel. And all the companies north of there are on the main channel. So it would be like 33 to Maine or 14 to Englewood. That's who you would be.
So that's the dispatch.
With. Yeah.
All right. And then let's see.
Are these all things that Ed Joseph had told you?
No, I heard it on your podcast.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I did. Thanks for listening, Pete.
I do. Yeah, that and Backdraft. I learned everything from Chicago from Backdraft. Yeah. So did you watch Backdraft 2?
It was the worst thing I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
How could they do that? It's like
it was in Canada too.
Like
they filmed it in Canada.
Was it I thought they filmed it in some like like Romania or some obscure,
no, it was Canada. I
like
think it was Toronto.
Uzbekistan or something.
It
was terrible.
It was so
The
bad.
worst.
She makes fun of me because like I watch these shows and I'm like, that gear's not right. The helmet's not right. Like that. I can't. It's just that shit drives me nuts.
But he doesn't do it like, where like someone might be like, oh, that's so silly. That's not how you ventilate someone. But he'll be like, why would they even put that there? Like they don't have windows on that side of the ambulance in that city. So why would they do that? I'm like, no one else notices this. Literally, you're the only person.
Well, how cognizant are you guys wherever you see somebody, he's flatlining, we got to shock him?
I know.
When you see
we had someone the other day who
just had somebody else the other day. Yeah, it was an overdose.
His friend overdosed on heroin. So we're ventilating. We have the firefighters with us. We're ventilating. I'm doing an IV. Like we're doing all this stuff. And he's like, don't you guys have that thing that, the paddles that shock him? And I'm like going to be in teacher mode. And he's like, no, man. Like, what'd you say to him? Like,
I said, no, I said, I wish we did. I said, do you want some? And
oh yeah. You want me to like,
because
some?
Yeah, because he said something else smart, and I was just like,
I'm like, he doesn't understand, and I'm like, actually, that would be if his heart was not working, but his heart is fine, he'll be fine. Like, because I'm like, this poor guy is probably thinking like, why aren't they shocking my friend? Like that he's not breathing, right?
It was a perfect segue in there. It was perfect.
Well, it's funny to hear. Are you guys usually start IVs on overdoses?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to hit him with as little Narcan as possible.
Yeah. Well, because we don't, I mean, hypothetically speaking, from what I've heard from other people on the street, is that we don't even really start the line. We just IM everybody now.
Interesting.
Number one, if you give them an IV, it's now they need a bed in a hospital. And obviously, based on our systems and protocols, doesn't figure in our decision making. But and for me, it's the perfect. I just need them to breathe. I don't need them to wake up. I don't want them to wake up. I'm well past fighting with any patients in the back of the ambulance anymore. I'm done. I am so done with that. And so I just need them to breathe, and I need to be able to convey them and
see for us, I want them to breathe, which is why I like to have an IV so I can do as little as possible. I also love if they could walk, because I don't want them to wake up and be in withdrawal. I always feel bad for them when the firefighters hit them with like 2 milligrams, and then the homeless shelter hit them with another 4, and now this person's yawning uncontrollably or shitting their pants. I feel really bad for that person. But for me, if it's a 280-pound, 6'5" guy slumped over in a bathroom, I'm like, this guy could be walking out of here, like.
Yeah, sure. I 100% agree with you, and his ability to ambulate is definitely figures in my decision making on administration. But I'm telling you,
it lasts longer too, right? Because then they can't run out and go get high again. That's what we said. The street lore.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I can't speak to that, but it does work. The difference between the IV Narcan and the IM Narcan, it doesn't, it's
gentle. It's gentle.
Yeah.
I guess you would put it.
Yeah. This is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're pushing IM Narcan, even if you're doing like a 1/4 of a milligram, it's still like a powerful punch if it works right away. If you're trying to work your way up and you're titrating your administration of Narcan, you're working. With the IM, what I'm finding is that a milligram IM is just as good, or a half to 1, never the 2. But that it seems to work perfectly. And worst case scenario, this guy's stats are up. I'm putting a non-rebreather on him, and he's pink again,
Yep.
and he's fine. I'm good with that.
Yeah. Because we've been bagging. We got something from somebody, and they're like, like if they're blue or whatever, like bag them for a little bit, get them pink, then you give the Narcan. And we've been doing that for a couple months now, and they haven't been angry, versus where they're the firemen and the homeless police, they're slamming like 2, 2, 4, and then they wake up and they're mad.
Tough. Yeah.
So
that's
tough.
Because we've had patients where they're blue when you get there, and like just they need oxygen, right? Like they need Narcan too, but like obviously they need oxygen. So if you're ventilating them, and then I can give like a little Narcan and see how that goes. But like when we went to a shelter not that long ago, and I don't know if they hit him with what, 12 or 16 or something.
It was 12.
Because
they're the 4 shots. The 4 shot.
Oh, the kind that you can get at Walgreens or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. He shit and puked all over the room that he was in. Then we were like able to get him downstairs on the chair. Yeah. But then Pete went out to get the ambulance to get it closer because it was like raining or whatever. And, the engine had been in front of us. And like, now I'm with him in the chair, and he's like, you gotta let me out. I gotta go to the bathroom. And I was like, okay, so I get him out of the chair, and he runs into the bathroom on the next floor and like destroys that. And we literally had to get him new clothing.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't remove him from the building.
He vomited out eggs from the morning. Yes, that's how much vomit he kicked out.
And he felt so bad. And also like, it was like 4 a.m, and breakfast is going to start at like 6. And he's like in the cafeteria bathroom, like destroying it. Yeah. And I'm like, and now someone has to clean that. Like obviously the staff members at
hopefully the guy who gave him the Narcan has to clean that.
Oh, this poor guy. And like, he was like, I thought he was dead. And I was like, no, man, like, I get it. Like you totally did the right thing. It's just too much, like it was too much. And he was like, he just wasn't breathing. And, he was scared, but it was like, for this poor guy, I felt so bad for him. Like he was so sick. It took us like 40 minutes to leave the building because he would not leave the bath. He wouldn't leave the toilet. Like he was like, I can't get up. And we were like, you got to get up. And he's like, I can't get up. Like, and he had like his head in the sink, and, it was, I was like, this poor guy, so sick.
Well, you know what else what used to happen to me a lot with, and I don't say a lot with IV administration of Narcan in the neighborhood that I work, I was getting more flash pulmonary edema.
Interesting.
Than I should have been. And I'm not a slam the Narcan guy.
Yeah.
I'm a very start small and work my way up guy. But when these guys were completely blue, breathing 3 times a minute, you gotta push a little more. Yeah. And the people were waking up and like completely hypoxic, completely anxious, and you can listen and you can tell they're breathing, they're talking to you, but their sats are still down, and you start listening. And this has happened more than one time, and it's a lot of times it's with people like asthmatics too. The Narcan, for whatever reason, and I don't know the pathophysiology of why this happens, but I started having a rash of people really getting this flash pulmonary edema, which until it happened to me, I didn't think was a real thing.
Yeah.
Until it started to happen to me.
Yeah.
And I was
Did they give Narcan before you got there?
No.
Wow.
Okay. Because the one I had that sticks in my head was a kid at a gym, and they had given him a bunch of nasal Narcan before we got there.
Yeah.
And he had the flash.
But you've seen it though, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
That's the thing. I know that it happens. Like I know Pete's had it, our boss Neil has had it. And like, thank goodness, knock on wood, I haven't, but I know it happens. It's just like, we've been pretty lucky, I guess,
Pete, when you guys had that guy, what'd you do for him?
We gave him Narcan, and he ended up getting tubed. So he hadn't.
What'd you do for him pre-hospital? Like, did you bag this guy?
Yeah, we were ventilating him, and I was with Gideon. I think he tubed him. No, he was clinched, and we were like right around the corner from the hospital. He was in the gym, and from what I know, from what I remember, is he hadn't used in a while, and then he did it there, and then he went unconscious, and then they Narcaned him, and he had like, there was like a ton of blood coming out, and they're like, we don't know what this is. And I'm like, it's flash pulmonary edema. So
Yeesh.
yeah,
Poor
it was just
guy.
ventilating and then suctioning the airway, and we're right there. So
Well, we started having pretty good success with CPAP.
Yeah.
We only got CPAP probably
3
4
or
or 5
4
years ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
So-
having the CPAP has kept me from doing a
mhm.
ton more intubations.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
CPAP is like magic. I mean, it's
That
not
thing
magical,
is-
but it's really, really wonderful. Like to see the difference with folks in like 5 minutes where you're like, how you feeling? And they're like, you know, like compared to what they
Yeah.
were before, where you're like, oh, I'm watching this guy die, you know?
well, you got to think about how terrible a feeling that must be, where you can't breathe as it is, and
Yeah.
somebody's wanting to cover your face
I know.
Yeah.
with this, with this plastic thing. Like
Pressurized.
you have, I think the coaching is just as important.
Yeah.
Putting that CPAP, if they've never experienced it before, you'll know the people who have gone through this before, because they're reaching for that thing.
Yeah.
If they're reaching for that thing, you definitely know they've been through this process before, because they know it's going to help.
Yeah.
But the people who have never had this CPAP put on their face before,
Yeah, they try to take
they'll
it
fight.
off.
Yeah, they'll fight
Mhm.
because it's
Scary.
they don't understand the process. Like you're already, if you're working that hard to breathe, where I got to put this thing on you, we're behind the 8 ball as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's neat. You know what I mean? It's neat. Somebody else actually notices that too. So, cause like we tell people like, yo, you got to put it on, you got to coach them, and then you might have to stand behind them. Like,
Well, you know what?
Yeah, like
I hold it for him. I'm like, I'm just going to hold it. You can take it off. And then I'm like, all right, now you hold it, hold it tight. Just, there's a ton of oxygen coming out of here. You hold it. And when they're holding it to their face, then I start putting the strap. I'll put one strap on.
Yeah.
I'll put the other one on. I'm like, all right, this is going to hold it for you, so you don't have to hold your hand here anymore. And then they'll let go, and then I'll start tightening the straps.
Yeah.
But it's
I do like real quick.
process. You can't just like.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like once you let it happen,
whatever you got to do, man.
I'm scooping in.
But that's it. It really does work so quickly. Like it's such a phenomenal change in like such a quick amount of time, usually, that even when they're afraid, it's like usually you give it like 2-3 minutes, and now
once they take that breath and realize, hey, I can breathe a little deeper now. Maybe so it doesn't take long before they're realizing this is the thing. Yeah, this is the thing.
And you guys don't carry like a lot of crate. You guys don't have pumps and vents and all that fancy stuff, right?
Nah.
Yeah, I don't need that stuff.
That's for you, nor you know.
No, we don't have
that.
that.
You don't have it
No,
either.
we don't have that.
Not on the emergency ambulance anyway.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
What about blood? What do you think about blood on the ambulance?
I thought about, see, in Chicago, we're only 3 or 4 minutes from any hospital.
Yeah.
I think if you were out in a rural setting or something like that, I think you should have blood.
Yeah.
I think it'd probably be really helpful, especially like in traumas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some of these guys have, 10-minute transport times, 20-minute transport, and that's like on a close rural area.
Yeah.
I think it would be benefit, but you have to have a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to use it. That's the other thing.
Yeah, and you have to change them
turn
out.
it over.
Like it's
Yeah.
But I feel like, if you work in a rural setting like upstate, where maybe it could be even a half hour or 40 minutes to a trauma center, like maybe you're not getting a helicopter or whatever, that makes sense. For us too, it's like maybe within 10 minutes we're in a hospital.
Wait, you guys have a helicopter too, right?
Yeah, but our helicopter is only for our air sea rescue.
But you
they'll
guys
drop
have a
divers
helicopter.
out. We do.
Yeah, FDMY does not have a helicopter.
Period. None ever.
Yeah, no.
That's crazy.
But there's nothing we really would need it for,
The cops have like a pile of helicopters. So.
Yeah.
And they have like an arm, like a flotilla of boats. So
Yeah, we have a bunch of boats. We have a fast boat. We have like a giant like engine 2 is a boat, and it's got a pump on it, and those guys sleep on the boat during their shift. That's their quarters.
Yeah.
Wow.
They go fishing, I'm guessing.
Well, where that boat gets docked is in this harbor, and the guys used to fish out there, but then some people started complaining that, oh, these are taxpayers' dollars. These guys are out here fishing, you know, whatever. But yeah, we have a couple boats. We have a fast boat, and these are all for water rescue.
Yeah.
Our department even has jet skis.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what about your snowstorm? Because I remember you guys had that super big snowstorm, and you had
we commandeered snowmobiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like a handful of guys that I don't think we ever took a run on the snowmobiles, but during the blizzard, right when I came on, there were they went to a couple firehouses, dropped some snowmobiles off, and had to train these guys like to use them. But it was right when I came on, and there were runs where we couldn't go into. It's like New York in some aspects, where some of the side streets were so small, you couldn't bring the rig down the side street with all the snow. So to park on the major street, we took a Stokes basket, and we had to keep a Stokes basket in the back of the ambulance, and that was our conveyance device. We had to take the Stokes basket with a rope on it, and we would go down the block, put the patient, if they weren't able to walk, put them in the Stokes basket, and we had to drag them down to the end of the block where the ambulance were.
We have skeds. Have you ever used a sked?
Yeah, we have skeds are part of our inventory.
We have those. I only did that once. Beaches. Okay.
They're a nice piece of equipment.
Yeah.
You know, they're nice on the sand for us with our bike teams. When we have our like our ATVs, they have the skeds on top. And we have to get somebody, because they're ATVs, but they don't go on sand. They're terrible. They get stuck. So we'll leave the ATVs up on the sidewalk. We'll go to the patient at the water's edge, put them on the sked, and just drag them down, and bring them to the ATV, because the ATV can transport them now to an awaiting ambulance somewhere down the line.
Yeah. What do I know back in the day we used to have in the summer like beach overtime.
No, they still have it. Yeah.
Oh, they do, but I haven't done it in a long time. But I think we might have had like longboards at the time. Like we had to walk down the beach, you know, and like put this person on like a device and drag.
Don't say that word, Julianne. Nobody likes that word.
Hey, are you guys getting away from backboarding people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, like for immobilization, it's not in the protocol, but
we're allowed to use it. So
yeah, and we do sometimes for like, you know, conveyance, I guess, like trying to get someone.
That's pretty much what we use it for now, is just conveyance more than immobilization. I think for years we've been doing more harm than good with those backboards.
Yeah.
You know, the old lady who fell down the stairs, who
remember that
osteoporosis,
and she's like
trying
stuck
to straighten
up.
her out. Yeah. What do you?
But and then she's on there for 2
my protocols
hours.
are.
I
know. So, and now, like, you know, it's funny because like everybody loves the scoop, and they're like, the scoop's the best thing, you know. But like 5 years ago, nobody knew what the scoop was, and they're like, what are you using that antiquated piece of equipment for? You know, and now everybody's like, scoop is the best thing since sliced bread. I don't know. So
that's a new thing out there, huh? I think ours is, every ambulance has one, but it just sits there and it gets checked off on the inventory every day.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys have that stair chair stretcher thingy, right? The flat, what do they call it, a flat or something?
No, that's San Diego has that. The West Coast. We have a stair chair and we have a cot, but now all our cots are the power cots.
Oh, okay.
Which ones did you guys get? Strikers?
We got the Strikers.
Yeah. But you're sacrificing that for the fact that when you have to move it, it's 1,000 pounds. This thing is so heavy. It's big.
I know. But I was talking to some kid, and he's never used a stair chair without tracks or a power stretcher, a non-powered stretcher.
These are the new folks. When I came on, well, we had the 2-man stretchers back then, you know. I don't know. Did you guys have those where you had to like deadlift the patient up and stuff?
Well, you had to face each other on each side.
Yes.
And you had to lift it up. And if you could commandeer somebody to hit the button for you to drop the legs, that was always huge.
I know.
Just think how far we've come though.
Right. And it wasn't that long ago. I got on in 2012 and the spare, we still had one of those in there. And they taught you that in the academy.
Yeah. But that's because you might have had one. I don't know. I felt like I was in better shape. I was also 15 years younger, but like, you know,
How old are you, Julian?
like, what's that?
How old are you?
25 plus.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I don't
Plus
know.
how many? I don't know.
Glutes of steel when I was like deadlifting patients, you know? So
yeah. But you think about it's so much easier now to take that patient when they are on the backboard from the flat ground to that power cot.
Yeah.
Now you only have to get them that, I don't know,
foot and a half, inches,
maybe.
Yeah.
It is, especially when you're doing a ton of runs.
Yeah.
It's such a nice feature to have that power cot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we're getting
as I got older, like when they first came out in like the track chairs, I was like, yo, if you can't lift, you should be on the ambulance. And now I'm like, we had a power.
You have tracks?
No.
No.
Okay.
No. Like our supervisors were supposed to get them, but we have like some of the volunteer hospitals, they have them. So we'll call them like we'll call the dispatch, say, can you specifically send them? Because they have a track chair.
Yeah, if the patient's like heavier.
Yeah, some people have, like we have a unit that has the power stretcher and there's a few more coming out. So, you know, we had the Fernal one.
Those ones with the tracks, the configuration of buildings by us, there's so many that you couldn't use those tracks because they're like 90-degree turns.
Yep.
You couldn't physically get, but if you're just going down a straight tread of stairs, those things are fantastic.
Yeah, they are.
But they weigh a ton. To get them up where you got to go is a chore.
Yeah.
And like I said, we can't maneuver. You lose so much maneuverability using those things.
Yeah.
That it's almost, you get to a point where I'm just gonna manhandle this guy down. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of people that are doing both, like an old stair chair and then the newer one with the tracks. So
yeah, that's what I used to do when I was on the contract out in the suburbs. We'd keep both and we'd go recon. All right, we can bring the treads on this one or not.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to hump 50 pounds around on every job. You know, that's
no. But
way
you
too
know,
much.
Our protocols are our QRB, neither our LifePak 15s, which are huge, or our AED or LifePak 1000s, which is basically like an AED where we can see a rhythm. O2. What else are we supposed to bring by patient side? So we're supposed to bring all that to the patient side on every run. Now, the more seasoned paramedics are down to the bag and the stair chair, and that stair chair is always going in, no matter what. It's without a doubt that stair chair is always going in, and I think that we're definitely due for some innovations on a stair chair, because that's our bread and butter by us.
Yeah.
You know, that thing, that just think about the stair chair, and you guys tell me if you had the same experience. That stair chair has the device that keeps my bag off the floor in these nasty apartments. It's also protected me from numerous dogs. I've used this stair chair to prop open doors when, you know, the kind that'll lock behind you. I've used this stair chair for so many other purposes other than conveyance, that thing goes with us everywhere.
Yeah. Oh. And that's the funny thing. Like we have like the mutual aid come in and they'll say, I've never used a stair chair as much as I've have used it here.
Because it's just
who brings the stair chair in, you or Julie?
I usually
she does that. Yeah, I take all the heavy stuff.
Well, it's not that
just
heavy.
The opposite by us.
Yeah, I do the O2 on my back, and then I put the stair chair like in my arm, and he does the monitor and the drug bag, which is heavy also, you know.
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find a crew unless you knew that you were going in for a full arrest. You'd be hard pressed to find crews that are, because it's so big. It's like unfeasible to think that you're bringing this thing in, you know.
You have to bring it in on every call.
Yeah.
Every call.
Well, we're supposed to bring it in, and that's why they got us the Life Pack 1000s.
I like that
because you can just throw that on the back of the stretcher, or somebody's just slinging it over their shoulder.
Yeah.
Because the Zoll ones, which they're a sponsor of our podcast, have you seen their monitor?
We haven't. No, like a couple people have had it. I've never messed with it. So
they're tiny and they have so many more bells and whistles.
Yeah.
Their monitor is lights out cool. And I thought that long before they sponsored our show.
Yeah.
Just because I'm looking at it as a standpoint of I would rather carry this lunchbox or this cooler.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know why LifePack hasn't dropped their weight yet. You know, it's still the same weight as when it was the white one, you know, the 15. Or what is up to now?
It is 15. Well, the ones we're getting are 15, I think.
Yeah, we're getting the 15s next month.
Oh, are you guys still on LifePack 12s?
No, we're on Philips.
We went from LifePack 12 to MRXs, the Philips MRX, which is a great thing. And now, for whatever reason, we're going back to LifePack, which I didn't dislike the LifePack, but I kind of feel like if we're going to switch up the whole service, why are we doing something as heavy and cumbersome as we have, you know?
Well, you know, those decisions aren't made by paramedics on the street.
Yes. Clearly, you know.
Yeah, once you accept that, you guys.
Yeah. It makes more sense.
It makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fun, you know, like the smaller people, like they have all the cool little toys and stuff, you know, and then they hear like, you know, oh, you work for there. You don't have that. It's like,
yeah.
But it's like, yo, what do you really need? You know?
Yeah.
Like all this fancy stuff. So like you guys have what do you guys have? LMAs, right?
No, we have iGel.
Yeah, the iGels. We'll never get iGels.
Why?
It's too many.
Really?
You have to carry too many sizes. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, we're talking to the doctor and he's like, it's too expensive and we run too many units.
Well, I love the iGel until it came into play with our bike team, because they take up a ton of space and our bike bags are already busting at the seams with everything that we're mandated by the state to carry.
Yeah.
And when you now want to put in these iGels, we're already at maximum capacity, and we got to add another bag to our bag just to carry them. So
get the tube, just get the tube. Yeah. So we mess with the guys because like if you come in and like you drop a combi tube, like we just mess with, like you get made fun of. So
you guys still have those?
Oh,
yeah.
Or is this back in the day? You guys still have combi tubes?
Yeah, I'll send you a picture.
That's it. We either have a regular tube or combi tube.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. We just got
those are going away every.
Yeah, they're terrible.
We just got disposable blades and handles.
Wow.
The beginning of COVID. Yeah. So before that, they were getting autoclaved and stuff.
Really?
I think it's it's hard because we have so many. How many units do we run in a day?
300 and something. I think total citywide service like 300.
So it's like a lot of ambulances to fit with all these things. And so it's like, you know, they kind of give us the minimum stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I don't want to carry all that stuff, you know? So like my kid's mom, she works in Jersey and they have 2 of everything. So they have 2 monitors, 2 main bags, 2 pediatric bags, 2 trauma bags. Like, I don't, they have 2 of everything.
That goes.
It's a lot of money. So.
Yeah.
It's a lot of shit to inventory. It's a lot of shit to like. So every Sunday we have our drug inventory.
Okay.
Where we have to go through everything and look for expiration dates and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's a chore.
Yeah.
And you know, it also figures in your decision making whether you want to make a trade with somebody or not.
Yeah. Because on our unit, like we have certain people. Well, there's certain people that do. No, they don't. I'll be honest, they don't. They rely on us to make sure that all the dates are good. So, you know, like the day guys that we relieve, they usually keep it clean pretty much. But the other platoon.
Do you guys get relieved, and do you relieve the same people pretty consistently?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys are cognizant about like how you receive the rig, and those guys do a good job of getting it ready for the transition for you guys, and you guys do the same thing.
In reason. So some are better than others. So
sure.
I feel like our first day back from a longer weekend, sometimes it's a little wild. And so it takes us, the two of us, like a little longer to check and restock and kind of like put it into the configuration that we like it in. But I feel like Pete is super good with that. Like we always leave the truck like immaculate and gassed up and ready to go. You know what I mean? Like right off the bat.
Yeah. Well, there are days where me and my partner will come in and the crew we're leaving is just backing in, and they're like, man, we're sorry, there might be some blood somewhere. Our last run was, this shooting, this guy was bleeding everywhere. We'd be like, go home, man. You got it. It's no big deal. But that guy gets leeway because every other day he's spotless.
Yeah.
When we show up to work, their shit has been replaced.
Yeah.
He's cleaned it. The garbage is thrown out. Those are certain responsibilities that the FPM usually takes on.
Yeah.
He's making sure that when the other crew comes on, the garbage is taken out, the place is wiped down, all the equipment's been replaced from the day before, all the drugs have been replaced, like the albuterol and the Narcan and all that shit. And when I was an FPM, I would get up, we usually relieve at 6:30. Now it's pretty much 6:30 across the board with everybody. And I would get up at 6, set my alarm for 6, and then I would get back there and make sure that everything was spotless, everything was clean, everything was replaced down to the angio. And, that was just me wanting the other crews that relieve me to get the rig the same way that I got it. And that, it was a pride thing that I kept a clean ambulance. I would throw all the garbage out that, you guys know how much garbage gets accumulated in a 24-hour shift between the two.
It's amazing what's under the seat too. Like it's scary under those seats, man.
Yeah. Well, how many snacks and cans and
Red
Bulls and Monsters, and, everything, everything. So all that shit gets thrown out, and, that it was a pride thing.
Yeah.
And plus, like you said, it gives you leeway, when you miss that spot of blood.
We've had a few traumas where we're like, when we come back to like, oh guys, there was like blood on, whatever the cabinets. And we're like, oh my God, so sorry. Like we spent like an hour cleaning the back of the ambulance. We missed that, or it'll be on the stretcher, but like every other day it's immaculate back there. You know what I mean? And completely restocked. But that's another reason where it's like, if one of us is not going to be there, it kind of stinks that you're going to be on a unit. And like, there's so many times I go on someone else's ambulance and I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't know where anything is. It's like a mess, and,
well, for the most part, our rigs are set up. The basics are set up exactly the same so that when you do go work in another district, you know that you could take that first run without even seeing the back of the ambulance, and that all the airway stuff's going to be here. The trauma stuff's going to be here. What's under the seat should generally be there, with some exceptions. The downtown rigs will keep their narcs in the bag in the QRB instead of the lockbox, because they don't want to be up on the 200th floor and wind up that the shortness of breath was a seizure or something like that. So,
like we carry ours on our person, which is
right. I remember I was making fun of your fanny packs last
night.
You
got like a fanny pack.
Yes.
You still rocking the fanny pack, Julie?
Yes.
Nerd.
Of course.
Nerd.
They're fancy.
I like my fanny packs. They are. They're fancy.
Like once you wear them like that, you'll go somewhere and you explain to people like that is an amazing idea.
Well, I'm making fun of your fanny packs, but I'll send you pictures. Last year or the year before, most of the bike team, the mobile medical response team, started opting for fanny packs because they were like, what are you wearing? I'm like, check this out. I got everything to run a call. So I had my glucometer, I had IV setup. What else? I had the blood pressure cuff all in there. That's because you don't want to go digging in your bike bag for that, because your bike bag usually has other shit on top. So, and for the most part, 90% of what we're doing neither needs you're just going to start a line for the ambulance coming in. you're going to definitely get a blood pressure and a blood sugar.
Yeah.
And that's it. You'll throw a Narcan in there too, and like some 4x4s, and that's it. So that was my fanny pack. And they're like,
that
wow,
is
that's
a good
awesome.
idea.
So I have a picture of all these guys rocking their fanny packs on the bike team.
See, if you want to be really tactical, you get like a leg pouch. Like we have some guys that have like leg pouches. That's just, for me, that's over the top.
Well, those guys have like snacks and stuff like that in there, right? Dude?
I'm gonna send you a picture of one of the guys.
A box of gloves.
It's some
candy.
There's some interesting ones out there. I don't,
yeah.
I mean,
gotta slim down.
I only wanted to make fun of Julie, not the whole fanny pack industry.
Oh no, that's okay.
I wish I could dazzle mine, but it's just plain
then
black.
You're right. You'd be out of uniform.
Exactly.
Do that.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, we'll get an extra one. Definitely.
Well, I'm glad you guys had me on.
Yeah, I'm glad you came on.
I'm glad. I sent Julie a message. I checking in with my New York brothers and sisters, and then next thing I know, hey, let's do something. I was like, hell yeah, I'll do something with you guys any day.
That was like serendipity, because Pete and I had been talking about like getting in touch with you and having you on the show. Like we wanted you like to talk about EMS, like, specifically. And then it was
did I talk enough EMS with you guys?
You did.
You did.
So, I'm so jealous of all the shootings you guys get though.
I know.
So.
But that was within like, I think 24 hours you text. So I feel like that was meant to be,
Yeah, it was. I was feeling it.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch that guy? I have to send you this thing. He like goes around and talks to all like the gang members and stuff. And like, he's like in the hood over there and stuff.
In
and
Chicago?
I was like, yeah, I was watching it the other day. Remember that stuff Mike showed me? It was wild.
Yeah. There's a couple of them. One guy, it's like almost like a homemade news show that he does.
He goes like all different hoods and stuff. And I give him credit. That's scary.
Well, he drives around in like a old decommissioned cop car.
Okay.
And he has a ton of antennas on there because he's just scanning.
Wow.
And he'll run the calls.
Huh.
You'll see him like at fires or at shootings. He's just listening to the scanner, just run around the city, like going.
Does he take pictures or he's videoing?
He does video.
Okay.
And he'll show up and like some people will be like, "Hey, you're that guy."
Yeah,
wow.
That's cool.
Yeah,
we have someone here like that, like
with the Loud Labs guy.
Yeah, they'll come on like hot jobs,
Yeah.
And then later you check Loud Labs, like, are we on it? And it's like, no. I showed my son that, thinking I was like very cool. I was like, oh my God, look at this. And he was like, was that on the news? And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, like for him it was like, that's not a really cool thing. It wasn't on TV.
Hey, did whatever happened to the girl who got fired for having an OnlyFans thing?
Oh,
wasn't she a New York?
She was from the voluntaries.
Which they're a little.
So
because they're advertising her as a NYFD paramedic.
No, she works. She might have worked 911 in the city.
No. She worked 911, but she didn't work for the fire department.
Oh no, not for us.
No,
but
not for us.
There are some private ambulances that work within the 911 system. I'm assuming she probably has a case going. I know she's on some group me thing that I'm on because I see her.
I thought she was with you guys.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have enough
You
scandals.
should be able to do whatever you want to do.
Exactly. You got to make
what
money.
I'm saying. Yeah.
And right. And if you work on a private, you're definitely not making any money.
Oh, 100%.
So if that's what you got to do to pay your bills, who's to tell you otherwise?
Exactly.
I know. Listen, when you're off, you're off.
Yeah, it's not like you're wearing your uniform on there, as far as I know.
One of the things, that being said, though, one of the things that the bosses come down to the academy and reiterate with our candidates is it's in our their candidate handbook that you are held to that standard on duty and off duty. Mm-hmm. And they put it to you this way, and this kind of drives home the message. If you get in trouble off the job, when the news portrays your picture on the screen, it's not going to say Vince Zittnan did this, it's going to say Chicago Fire Department paramedic Vince Zittnan.
Yep.
And so whether you were on the job at the time that you did something stupid, or you were at home doing something stupid, the news is going to report it as Chicago Fire Department, if Chicago Fire Department member for sure.
Yeah, because they love that.
Yeah, because that's what sells. That's what will get people to tune into their channel. Yeah. And so that kind of brings it into more focus on that doing what we do. We kind of are to an extent held to a different standard. So I see both sides. I want to wholeheartedly believe that on my time I should be allowed to do whatever I want to do. And if that's having an OnlyFans, which if I had an OnlyFans, Pete, I'd have to pay people. It would cost
you don't know.
money.
Listen.
It would cost me money.
Listen, that fanny pack.
No. Yeah, if you got like a cool looking.
Just the fanny.
Pack.
It was only the fanny pack.
Just the fanny pack.
Yeah, fanny packs and tattoos. You'll be in. And
Pete, I think we're good. I think we found our calling.
I know.
Yep. But it's like, I'll tell you this. We'll end it at this. There's more cameras around than you think there are.
100%.
And even when you think you're not on camera, you're on camera.
Yep.
So, and they're a lot better than they've ever been. So
yeah. Hell yeah. Always assume that you're on camera.
Yeah.
And don't do anything you wouldn't want to have someone taking a picture of.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Vince.
Thank you for coming on.
It was a blast as always.
Yeah. When's this other podcast coming out with the second half of the Chiefs there?
Well, we just had today part 2 came out for Billy Heenan.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're like an animal rights guy, you probably won't, because he has a run-in with a raccoon.
Oh no.
So but
right.
He's an amazing guy. And if you listen to the first one, this guy caught an 8-year-old girl while he was on a ladder. The ladder couldn't get to where she was.
Yes.
And the family was dangling her out the window, and he caught her with one arm.
Yes, I was listening to that. I looked his story up. I watched.
Yeah, we watched the news report.
Yeah, we watched the news.
Where did you guys find the news report?
On YouTube, I think it was. Wasn't it on YouTube? It was like it was like a half-hour-long news episode.
Yeah, it was a whole
that
episode.
Night,
Did they show the video?
He was on the ladder. Yeah, he was on the ladder.
I saw the picture of him on the ladder,
and the guy going down
the
thing.
Okay.
But I did see the picture.
So stories like that are exactly why I wanted to start Chicago's Bravest Stories, because that story right there epitomizes everything I wanted to do with that podcast. Plus, that was just one story of a 2-part podcast that was filled with stories. His story about when the room flashed over on him, and that was his near-death experience. He was intubated, and this was a hard chart. They don't get harder chartered firemen than Billy Heenan.
Yeah.
And he was inches away from, in his own words, from leaving the job. That's how traumatized he was by that flashover.
Wow.
And hear him tell the story about the events that unfolded during that flashover. I mean, those amazing stories are what I wanted to document in our podcast, and to be able to sit down and have a beer or a glass of whiskey with these amazing people and hear these amazing stories. People are like, oh man, you guys do agree. I'm like, all I'm doing is it's selfish for me to sit down with these people and I would love to sit at a bar and drink with this guy and bullshit and tell a story. Yeah. And that's what we're doing at our studio. And our studio is set up like that. We have a whiskey bar, we have a fridge. One of our sponsors is a brewery, and we have a drink and we tell stories, and it's designed like that.
Yeah.
So I'm the one who's honored and privileged to be in the same room with these people telling me the story.
Yeah.
So it's very selfish on my part, more than anything. But thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for promoting our podcast, because it means a lot to me, and I love you too. And anything you guys need, you know, I'm there for you.
Cool, man. Thanks.
Well, thank you.
All right. You guys be safe.
Yes.